episode. Oh my goodness. Let's try that again. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of JT Talks Jobs. This is the show that teaches you everything that school didn't about job search and career growth. And today we are going to be talking about confidence, specifically increasing your confidence in your job search post-crisis, which is going to be a wonderful subject. But before we get started with that, I just want to make a special and exciting announcement. We have a new free resource. You know that we are very proud at Work It Daily to have the most number of free resources for people who are looking to find a new job or grow their careers. And today we just launched one specifically around how to identify your most valuable skill sets to employers. That's right. So I know that my team is putting the link in there for you. Go grab your free video and PDFs. They're going to teach you how to actually assess and figure out which of your skills, which is pretty important, are going to be most valuable to employers so you know what to market to them. It's a really amazing resource. I want to thank my team at Work It Daily for putting it together. They always put such quality content together, and now it is totally free for all of you, okay? So be sure to grab that from the link there. But now what we're going to do is get started and talk about your confidence level. I had so much fun putting this presentation together. This idea of confidence, I guess, is something that is important to me as somebody who's been career coaching for many years, because I think that people have this notion that confidence is being a smooth talker and having this incredible presence. And, the word suave comes to mind. I don't know why. And I'm really excited to tell you something. And that is, there's some good news here, that confidence post this crisis is going to be about humility. Confidence post-crisis is not going to be about you being all sorts of, kind of cocky. Because when you do that, when you try so hard to be suave and have all the answers, you actually will end up after a crisis like this coming across as overconfident, which really is code for being out of touch. Now more than ever, we have to have an incredible amount of humility. There are going to be millions and millions of people looking for work. Very different environment. And none of us are going to be perfect. And none of us are going to be the best person for the job, because let's face it, there's going to be an incredible amount of talented people. So we have to recognize that and respect the fact that while there's no such thing as the best, what we're hoping to do is show them that we have the right skills and abilities to be one of the best and to be potentially a good fit. And that's what I mean about humility. I've seen people do this in post-crisis, times of higher unemployment, where they think they have to go in and they have to be the Jack or Jill of all trades. They have to have all the answers. They talk about how other people aren't as good as them, and it just lands so wrong. It's just bad. So that's the good news, because I find anybody that's dialing in for this session today tends to be on the humble side and almost maybe a little insecure, and certainly was raised not to brag about themselves. So that's my good news. Humility is the name of the game, and you do not need to be suave, because it's not going to work. People will see right through it, and candidly, they will not appreciate anyone who lacks the emotional intelligence to be respectful and humble and to show humility. So is that a little good news? I hope that's good news for all of you out there, because it's the truth. I can tell you right now, people in recruiting and in talent acquisition are going to look for people that are truly in touch with what's going on in the world today. So what I'm going to do, though, is break this down into some simple steps for you today in order for you to build the right level of confidence for this job search. And what you'll notice is it's a set of activities or actions that you can take. So grab a pen and a piece of paper, because you're going to want to take notes with this one, okay? So the first thing that we're going to talk about, step one, is called connecting the dots on your resume. This is a very important thing to do. I see people spend way too much time trying to figure out what goes on the resume and making revisions. And then they send the resume out and they don't hear anything back. And so their confidence weakens. So they think they need to tweak the resume some more. Yes, you need an updated resume. It needs to be in the latest format. If you need help with that, come join us at Work It Daily. We will show you the absolute most amazing resume template ever that completely dials in on your experience. But even if you have this amazing resume template, you still have to know how to connect the dots. There's a difference between designing a resume and connecting the dots. So let me talk you through what that is. You're going to ask yourself 4 questions and make sure that you feel this resume is very clear in providing the answers to those 4 questions. So the first question is, what is my specialty? You'll hear me talk a lot about everybody needing to have a specialty or a niche or a particular area of expertise, whether it's in an industry or a skill set. I don't care if you're a recent college graduate or you've been around for many years, you need to know what your current specialty is. There's a reason for that, folks. Studies show that when somebody can show and prove that they have a specialty, they are seen as more intelligent. So first of all, they see you as more intelligent for being able to be advanced in this knowledge in one area. But even more importantly, by default, they assume, well, if you're intelligent enough to have a specialty, then you're probably capable of doing a lot of other things too. So people will say, well, why don't I want to show that I'm a generalist? Because by showing you're a specialist, you're showing a heightened level of intelligence. And then by default, they'll believe that you're a generalist. That's why you do this. So everyone has to get clear on their specialty. And specifically, as you see in question 2, the pain that it alleviates. So in marketing, we always hear something about features and benefits. Your specialty is the feature about you. The pain you alleviate is the benefit. And that's very important because post-crisis, companies aren't going to hire just for the sake of hiring. They're going to hire only when they have an absolute need. And it's going to be a person that's going to alleviate a pain in some particular way that they can't, deal with anymore. They absolutely need it fixed. So you need to know what your specialty does in terms of the pain it solves or the problem it alleviates, okay? The third thing that you're going to need is the hard proof, the evidence. So this is the facts and numbers. A lot of people, you will hear this term from recruiters, quantify your experience for me. You need to validate your experience for me. And this is what they mean. Those numbers. So how many times have you done that thing, that specialty of yours? And how much money did you save them or time did you save them? How many people were involved or how many vendors or what was the budget or cost savings? You have to talk through with the numbers so that they know that you're not just making it up. If you can actually do the math, show the numbers, you're going to be able to prove. And this one's particularly important for those of us that were raised not to brag, because stating the facts and the numbers isn't bragging. And it's a lot easier. We're more relaxed when we're just recounting numbers than when we're trying to make something up and try to make ourselves sound more important than we are. So these facts to validate it are very, very important. And then number 4, why is this particular specialty and the pain that you alleviate and the facts that you have to back it up, why is this important to employers right now? So you have a lot of different skills and you probably have several different specialties. Some of those specialties were probably very relevant post-crisis, but some of them may no longer be as relevant. So you have to do your homework and think about those places that would hire you and what those pain points would be and how they would be extremely relevant today in the changed marketplace. We all have to do that. See what I mean about connecting the dots? It's one thing to have a resume, this piece of paper, this document with this information on it. It's entirely another for you to step back and identify these things so that you can speak to them and so that you can make sure that it's all present on the resume so that when somebody sees this, they too can start to connect the dots. All right, so that's step 1, connecting the dots on your resume. Let's talk about step number 2. Make the LinkedIn profile objective. Oh my gosh, this is a big one for me. This is a pet peeve for me. And I know it is for so many recruiters because so many of them are on LinkedIn now. We are seeing a lot of people that got a little too creative with their LinkedIn profiles in an effort to stand out and be different. But LinkedIn isn't the place to do that. It isn't the place to do that. We'll see where the place to do that is in a minute. LinkedIn needs to be as fact-based and as objective as your resume. It's essentially your digital resume. And for every one person that maybe thinks that what you wrote is cute or funny or creative, there's going to be 5 that go, ugh, I don't think so. Nails on a chalkboard. Do you really want to risk it? Do you want to risk being eliminated because of the subjectivity? So some particular things you need to check and make sure you don't do. 3 in particular. There's more, but these 3 are pretty important. Please don't ever write your profile in the third person. Your profile is your profile. And when you write it in the third person and make it sound like somebody else is writing it about you, very pretentious, very pretentious. It literally disconnects you from the reader. Second thing, using a lot of adjectives and subjective text to hype you up. I'm a proven self-starter with exceptional experience in a variety of accomplishment role. It just goes on and on. Again, nails on a chalkboard. You don't need to hype yourself. You would never do that in real life. It would sound silly. Now, other people can do that for you. But what did I just say? This isn't written in the third person. This is written in the first person. This is you talking about yourself. You need to scrub out all that subjectivity, all that fancy language, and just stick to the facts. Less is more. And then third, using different text than what's on your resume in the work history. And this is one that a lot of people don't realize. Your work history bullet points, where you have quantified and validated your specialty and your value, those same bullet points need to show up in the work history of your LinkedIn profile. Why is that? Most of the time, you apply online and you send a resume and hopefully a cover letter to a recruiter. Recruiter looks at it, likes what they see. They go pull your LinkedIn profile. They want to send the LinkedIn URL to the hiring manager because it's easier for a hiring manager just to open up and look at LinkedIn. But if all of a sudden what you've put in your work history, and I've seen 2 big mistakes here, either people put nothing, which is a terrible waste, makes you actually show up in less search results because you haven't given me some data in your work history, or you write these long-winded paragraphs. Now the recruiter's wondering, which one do I believe? So you have to have the same exact quantifiable bullet points in your LinkedIn profile and the work history that you have in the resume. That's the one place where it should be identical, okay? Now there's other tips around LinkedIn to optimize it, but these are the 3 biggies that are gonna really make sure that you're keyword optimizing and at least cleaning up your presence on LinkedIn so that you're not looking like that overconfident person, that you're really showing that humility that I'm talking about. Okay, step number 3, and this is a big one, and we are one of the few that talk about it in the career coaching world, and that is creating a bucket list. If you want to get more confident in your job search, you, my friend, yes, you that's out there listening to this, need to create a bucket list of employers. Now, what is this bucket list? You want to find about 20 to 30 companies, more if you can, but let's start with at least 20, that you absolutely know hire for your skill set, that are showing signs of surviving the crisis on social media. So you should be really following these companies, and that represent or do something you believe in. Not that you heard they're a great place to work and that they've got killer benefits, but the reason they're in business, the product or the service they provide, the customer base that they serve, why the company was created, you really need to align with it on some sort of personal level. You need to have some kind of emotional connection to the employer. It is very important that we do this. One of the reasons people lack confidence in job search is because it feels very lonely and we feel like we're reaching out to companies that we know nothing about. It's called cold calling. Have you ever heard that? This is why so many of us don't like to be in sales, because of the dreaded cold calling. They have to call up a company they know nothing about, talk to a stranger they know nothing about, and try to make a human connection with them. Rejection rate's really high on something like that. If somebody doesn't know you and there's no connection, it's a lot easier for them to, hang up on you or not take your call or just flat out tell you no. Well, same thing in job search, and that's why people hate it so much. That's why when people spray and pray, which is a term we use when they go online and they just apply to 100 jobs and hope that somebody calls them back, it's why that's so demotivating and depressing. Not only do you get called less than 3% of the time, studies show, but also that massive amount of rejection makes you feel just bad. So why would we put ourselves through that? We wouldn't. We shouldn't. If you want to have a more confident job search, you start to dial in on the companies you want to work for. You go job shopping, or at least employer shopping, and you identify places that excite you. And that's very, very important, as you'll see in the next step. So if you want to build your confidence, start by selecting the places that fit this criteria so that we've got something to focus on. A good job search, or more confident job search, is when we're dialed in and we've got a sense of purpose and direction. And we do that by creating this list so that we have something to target. Okay, so now let's look at step 4. And you've probably never heard of this one, but it's very important. To gain your confidence, you need to become an employer brand nerd. That's right. You need to geek out on these companies' employer brands. So let's talk about what that looks like. I need you to stalk, in a good way, I need you to stalk these employers. I want you to follow them on social media. I want you to go to their careers pages. A lot of them now offer a way for you to pop your email address in and get regular updates from them. But if they don't, you should be collecting the URLs of all of those careers pages and going back and visiting them on a very regular basis. At least once a week, maybe even daily if you can. So you're really looking at that. I want you to study people. I want you to understand and start to build like a dossier of what makes them special, better, faster, cheaper, stronger. Why are they number one in their space? I want you to find people that work there. Look at their company page on LinkedIn and look at all the employees and see if you know anybody that knows somebody, and get an introduction so that you can ask about their experience. What's the one thing they found most helpful when they were trying to get hired there? You're not asking these people to get you a job. You're asking for them for information so that you yourself can earn a job. That's very easy to do. People love to share their stories. Like, tell me the story of how you got hired there. People love to tell those stories, right? Then it's up to you to take that information and do something with it. Set up informational interviews. If you know somebody who knows somebody at that company, ask them for the introduction because you'd like to spend 20 minutes hearing how this person got their job and what they like most about it. Informational interviews are very important. They're how you build a network at an employer. The other reason you want to stalk these companies is so that you can write disruptive cover letters that show you get them. This is such a big deal. There are thousands, there will be millions of people competing for jobs. Companies are going to try to figure out, well, who's legit, who's genuine, who really wants to work here, and who's just looking for the paycheck. Because everyone's looking for the paycheck. Everyone is. That's a given. I want the person that's looking for the paycheck and is excited about working here and has some deep motivation and believes in us. That's the story you tell in a cover letter, not why you're a good fit for the job, but why you are deeply connected to the mission, the product, the service. That's a disruptive cover letter. That's how you teach them that you want more than a paycheck and how you beat out the competition. But you can't do that if you don't study them. And then lastly, preparing for behavioral questions, those open-ended questions that you get asked in phone screens and on interviews, you're going to want to tailor those to the company to show that you've done your homework. So you got to nerd out. This is called their employer brand, the brand of their employment, what it's like to work for them. You have to nerd out on it. And these are all the ways that you can do that. So you can see why it becomes very important that you have a list of only 20 or 30. You can't just be randomly doing this for anyone. You need to be very focused and say, these are the companies that I want to work for, and this is how I'm going to get to know them on a deeper level. And I will tell you, the confidence really comes out of this process. And there's a reason that I know that it does. I can sit here and say it to you with such confidence. And the reason is something called the GLOW method. What I just described to you are the techniques, the basics. There's a lot more to it than that, but it's proprietary. The basics of the GLOW method for job search. This is a proven process that I designed when I became a career coach almost 20 years ago. And I have had thousands of people use this process. People who are afraid and scared and feel inadequate and again, lack that confidence. I get it. And here's why we go from not having confidence to using the GLOW method and gaining confidence. Because it breaks down to these 4 things, which I just walked you through how to do. First of all, gaining perspective. Gaining perspective on who you are, gaining perspective on what the market wants you to share with them, gaining perspective on the expectations of recruiters, gaining perspective on your strengths and what matters to you, gaining perspective on who you want to work for and what they're all about, right? So there's a whole bunch of research that when done in this very targeted fashion is going to completely change you. And that leads to the next piece, illuminate the goal, dialing in, not wondering who you might work for or what you should apply for, but getting really focused on the value that you create and who would appreciate that value, right? That's illuminating the goal. That's building a target. And then there's owning your actions and having a very concrete set of things that you can do every single day to feel like you're moving the needle. I think that's one of my favorite things inside Work It Daily. We now have thousands of members in over 16 countries. And they come inside and they attend live sessions and they talk to one another in the community and they follow the job search plan and share their results. And they really own their actions. They realize it's those little things they're doing every single day that are ultimately going to get it, which leads to the fourth step, working it daily. If you want to be confident in job search, you need to work on this every single day. It's like any other skill. It is a skill to look for work, folks. And the good news is you don't need to be a genius. It's not brain surgery. It's not rocket science. It's actually basic business techniques that when done in a very specific way, yield results. But you have to work at it every single day, and not 8 hours a day, not 10 hours a day, whatever time you can put towards it. But it's that consistency in these actions on a daily basis that will get you hired. And this is why, by the way, studies show that people that have job search coaching get hired 2 times faster. And you want to know why? Because the people that don't get job search coaching, they don't know what they're doing and they're not confident. So do you think they're really working on it every day? No, they're psyching themselves out every day. They're making themselves feel bad every single day. And it slows their job search down. Confidence builds excitement, builds positivity, builds optimism. And all of a sudden you go from looking for the negatives and assuming you can't do something to looking for the positives and finding the opportunities. And this is why people get hired faster when they have job search coaching. Think about it. Coaching isn't a sign of weakness. It's a path to greatness. Pro athletes, coaches, executive coaches, everything in your life where you really want to get better, coaches. So you need a methodology. And I just showed it to you. I'm telling you, this is probably one of the most proven job search methodologies you will find because it's been in play now almost 2 decades. I don't like admitting how old I am, but it really, really works, which is so exciting. So here's what I'm going to say before I start taking some questions. The more you study job search, folks, and the more you understand strategy and techniques behind it, especially the latest techniques, we talked a lot about nuances today post-crisis, the more confident you will be in a good way. Because again, I'm going to make sure us at Work It Daily, the whole team, my whole staff of fellow coaches, we're not going to let you get cocky. We're not going to let you look overconfident. We're going to make sure that your resume and your LinkedIn profile and your interview prep and everything about you shows that humility, because that quiet confidence is what's going to get you hired in the crisis. And anyone can have it. If you want it, you can have it. It just comes down to the effort that you put into learning the strategies and techniques so that you can be more confident, that you can feel better. So you all have a chance. And this is the foundation, the very foundation I taught you today. Okay? Excellent. All right. I'm going to take some questions. I'm sure you have a lot of questions on this GLOW method. So let's get into that. Reminder, we launched a brand new free resource today that teaches you how to assess your strengths, which was one of the things we talked about in the first step, right? The resume, connecting the dots. So if you don't know how to assess your strengths and know what you should be selling to employers, grab that free resource today. It's brand spanking new, and I couldn't be more proud of the team for putting it together. All right. Excellent. All right. So while they're doing that, I'm going to start taking some questions. So let's begin. First question's over on YouTube. When applying for a job, would it be good to call 7 days after you apply? So it's always good to follow up. First thing, always make sure that they weren't specific about the follow-up in the job description. Some companies will tell you flat out, don't call. If it says do not call, please don't call. If you do, you will be blacklisted. Plain and simple. If nowhere in the job posting it said that you couldn't call, then it is more than okay to follow up 7 days later. It's always one full business week. And one thing I will tell you is if the 7th day falls on a Monday, wait till a Tuesday. Mondays are a rough day for everybody. Even the most optimistic people, you're getting back into the groove after the weekend, a little cobwebby, a little foggy. Give them a day to get in their routine and get organized. Contact them on a Tuesday. Yes, you can call. Some people don't like being caught off guard. So be prepared to leave a voicemail. And better yet, if you have their email, I would even try following up that way. And the one thing I would tell you is never say, I'm just calling to check in. That word just is absolutely a deal killer. Instead, what you want to say is, I'm following up to see if there is anything else I can do to further my candidacy. I'm following up to make sure and see if there's anything else I can do to further my candidacy. Very important you say that. And if you're emailing, I always love to throw a little bonus in there. I always love to send a link, hey, I saw you in the media, or hey, I saw this article and thought of your organization, something that just shows I'm thinking of them, a little PS factor. But at the very least, be extremely careful in how you follow up and what you say and when you follow up. All right, question from Beth over on LinkedIn. Hey, Beth. Regarding resume and LinkedIn bullet points, how would you update your LinkedIn if your functional resume has a few more bullet points than your chronological resume? So first of all, I would not use a functional resume. I would not use it. Recruiters do not like them. The reason being is that you've got all these bullet points in by these skill sets, and I can't figure out when you did them. And it's a real pet peeve of recruiters. I get frustrated when people tell folks to use functional resumes. I get the theory. For those of you that don't know, a functional resume is where you take all your skills related to the kind of work you want to do and put it up front and center in a hope to really sell them on the fact that you have that experience. The problem is recruiters are technical buyers, and they're told that you not only need to have the experience, but you need to have it and like within a certain time period, or it be very recent. So nothing's more frustrating than to see somebody say they have the experience and then they can't figure out how long ago you had that experience or with which organization. Is it relative to their industry? It just doesn't make sense to use one. Chronological resumes are better because they show the bullet points within the proper place. Now, instead of a functional resume, there is a solution, Beth, and we teach it at Work It Daily, and that is called branding the top fold. So the top fold is the first third of your resume, and it is what recruiters see first. And the technique is to create a lot of white space in the top fold that draws the eye in and helps them understand what your specialty is. It's not subjective, it's not wordy, it's fact-based, and it very quickly lets a recruiter go, oh, okay, they've got check, 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 check. Let me go see where they got that experience. And then they go look it up in the chronological history. That is the new replacement to the functional resume. And that works extremely well, especially because it allows you to adjust the top fold job to job to job. So my personal advice, dump the functional resume, stick with a chronological resume. That way, and to my other point, your bullet points are always going to be the same now. We don't have that concern. The bullet points in the job history on LinkedIn are the same as the bullet points on your resume. And this is why you do it. This is why you stick with chronological. But you can use that top fold strategy in order to create what you were trying to accomplish with a functional. But functionals are super outdated. Don't let anybody tell you that. You should use one. You really shouldn't. Thank you for asking, by the way. Question. It seems as a negative to respond to a recruiter's request for my resume to have a call first. I've not had contact with this recruiter in the past. They did provide a job description. If a recruiter asks for your resume and you don't send it, they just won't bother. So remember, you're selling them, and there are millions of people looking for work. So it's just kind of a logic thing at this point. If you have concerns about, confidentiality, which I totally get, take your address off your resume. Just put your name, and you can put the city and state. You don't have to put a street address or a zip code. You can just put the state if you want to. If you have any, you can take the address off entirely if you prefer. If there's something like that you're concerned about, I would think more about adjusting the resume for that. But if a recruiter asks you for a resume, I'd send a PDF of it. I would. Right now, it's so competitive. You don't want to miss that window. And for every one person that says, well, I want to have a phone call first, there's 10 more that will send the resume that the recruiter can look at. They sit in a position of power right now. So that would be my advice. But whatever is giving you pause, I think we want to work through that and make sure that it's okay on the resume so that you're comfortable doing that. Excellent. Lori says, how should I show short-term stints on a resume with companies over the past few years? It looks like I'm hopping around a lot, but they either closed down or had massive layoffs. So in those cases, Lori, what I would do is you lead with the job title first, bolded, followed by where you worked. And then in parentheses, you can say company closed and put the date so that when they look at your employment dates, they'll see that. Or you could put in parentheses after a company laid off X% of workforce. right? So you can have a very simple 3-word explanation in parentheses after the company name on that line. I wouldn't make it a bullet point and try to explain it. It's better to put it next to the company name because it's essentially explaining the company's situation. Does that make sense? Let's see. Question is how to look for job opportunities when you want to completely migrate to a new industry, for instance, manufacturing to tech in my case. You absolutely need to create a bucket list. You need to go back and watch today's training. The bucket list is the secret. It is the magic. You need to know which employers you want to work for in tech, and then you need to start the networking process. Because if you apply online, your resume is going to get tossed because manufacturing doesn't match tech. So you can't use online applications. You're going to have to network your way into these organizations. Someone's going to have to vouch for you. You're going to have to find a way to get in front of human eyes with your resume. And more importantly, with your disruptive cover letter that tells the story of why you're moving from manufacturing to tech, that compels them to want to give you a chance in spite of the fact that you don't have the industry experience. See, this is the best way to sell this, understand this, folks, and all salespeople understand this. If I'm a salesperson and I have a really expensive product I want to sell, there's going to be a natural number of automatic objections that people have to buying from me, flat out. I can't just go at them and say, no, you're wrong. They're not going to listen to me. They're the customer. They're buying the services. But if I can go at them and say, let me tell you a story, and that story can make them look at the situation and my product and service differently, now they're going to listen to me. So every good salesperson knows the power of storytelling and getting in front of the customer so that you can ask them some questions and tell stories and shift their perspective. It is no different when you're trying to shift industries. It is all about getting that chance to tell those stories and ask those questions to shift perception. So that's what you're going to need to do. And that's why you have a bucket list so that you can focus your efforts. Okay, Work It Daily member here. Oh, fantastic. Hello. I was eyeing a job change before the COVID hit. Now I'm not sure what to do. I have been with the employer for 3 years. Seems like much greater risk to move on. It really is. I'm not going to lie. If I were you, if you have a job right now and you know that it is not at risk, I would hang on to it. What I would do is figure out what you were thinking about moving into. I would do your homework on the best in class, which companies are absolutely the best at it. And as I talked about today, I would stalk them like crazy. I would completely nerd out on their employer brand and get a sense of where they're at. I'd try to network with people at the company to hear how healthy it is. There's an old saying, and it still rings true, folks, last in, first out. So you go make a job change right now and that company doesn't survive, they're going to let you go, as opposed to trying to keep other people. And so there are exceptions to the rule, most definitely, but historically, that's what we see. So you do not want to make a job change unless you are very certain that job is going to be there and that you're going to be able to stick at it long term. So I would not be making any big changes right now. Things are going to get better, folks. I hate it. I know today I feel like I'm doom and gloom girl. I'm just honest. I'm just realistic because I understand that I'm not talking about a decade. I'm talking about 18 months. We just need time to get through this. We need time for companies to figure out what their new normal looks like. And then you know what happens? All those people that run businesses, all those people that like to lead, they're going to want new challenges. They're going to want to grow again. They're going to want to find a ways to expand. Not right now, because they're just trying to figure out what new normal looks like. But we're going to get through that and we're going to bounce back and there'll be growth again. And that'll happen in about 18 months. It's going to be ugly for a bit, but we're going to get through it. So my advice, stay put, but be really strategic. Start building out your network. Really develop those relationships so that when it's time to move, you know that you really can move safely. Let's see. What are the best places to search for direct one-on-one job coaching? I honestly have no idea, Nicholas. And I'll be perfectly honest with you because I don't believe in it. And I was a coach like that for many years. The whole reason I built Work It Daily is that the mistake people make is they go find a one-on-one coach. They spend hundreds of dollars meeting with that coach for an hour. The coach gets them all hyped up. They think they had a great session. Trust me, I've been there, right? You then go back and you're all alone. And you have to figure this stuff out all by yourself. And it doesn't happen. Or you run into problems. So now you book another session. And maybe another session. And before you know it, months have dragged on, you're not getting results. The reality is you need coaching every day, not for hours at a time. usually for minutes at a time. But you need it every single day as you move through that problem. And don't take my word for it. Harvard does studies on this. You cannot grow in a vacuum. You need to not only have coaches every single day working your performance every day, you need new information and resources, and you need a community of a whole bunch of other people that are going through the same thing you're going through that you can confidentially talk to in order to stay motivated and on track. And that is why we built Work It Daily, because one-on-one coaching doesn't work. Unless you've got thousands of dollars to spend, you're a pro athlete or you're an executive and you're Tom Brady, okay, or whoever, great. But most people cannot afford the amount of one-on-one coaching they need to actually get results. And that's why it doesn't work. And I'll probably have a lot of coaches very angry for me saying that, but that's why we built Work It Daily. That's why it's a monthly subscription. It's a gym membership, less than $1 a day for you to literally, if I have my phone with me, because we're the only phone app too, work one-on-one with coaches when you need it. So please think twice before you invest in one-on-one coaching, okay? All right, I'll get off my soapbox on that. That one's near and dear to my heart. I just hate seeing people waste money on resume writers, on LinkedIn writers, on coaches. It's not a good use of your money. You could be saving it, especially in this day and age. You could be subscribing to Work It Daily and working with coaches every single day, right? Every day. All right, Dan says, how do you feel about LinkedIn skills quizzes? Are these game changers or accessories? Yeah. So, a lot of companies are going to be asking you, what did you do during COVID? And I think saying that you took quizzes and assessments and things online is a great, great thing, because it shows that you didn't just waste your time, that you looked to better yourself. So I like them. Are they going to be a game changer? No. So no employer is going to go, oh my gosh, you did those 10 things. You're super qualified, because you don't have practical experience in the things that you took the quizzes on. Did you use your brain and expand and learn some things? Yes. And that's a positive. So it's not going to detract in any way, but it's not going to be the game changer you think it might be to get you a job. So do them, just don't hold too much weight in them. Bonnie says, should you target a company that you're interested in if you know they are having layoffs and or hiring freezes? Well, yes, Bonnie, just don't make it the only one. I think that companies are going to lay off and then they're going to hire for different skill sets. And if they're freezing, they're obviously not hiring this second, but that's kind of a beautiful time for you to build your network. You can say, I know you're not hiring right now, but I just like to get to know you better. Tell me about your job. Tell me how you did get hired there. What do you think it's going to look like in the future? There's a great chance right now to make friendships with companies, and it's not stressful because they can flat out tell you, I'm not hiring. You go, okay, that's good. Let's build a relationship instead. So I would definitely pursue them, most definitely, but I wouldn't make it the only one, just in case they're on layoffs for a really long time and you're missing out on opportunities at other places. Let's see. Summit says, I know I should learn about the company, but what if I'm interested in working for a great manager at that company and they are just starting to build the department in my field? Well, there's nothing wrong in that. A great manager that's part of a company, I think that's huge. I think going to that manager and saying, I've heard you are a great manager and I want to be developed by somebody like you. What does it take to earn the chance to be mentored by you? What does it take to earn the opportunity to be part of your team? What do you look for? And asking people on the team what that person looks for. Absolutely. Very, very good idea, by the way. Very, very good idea. Listen, folks, just a reminder as we bring up a few more questions here. We have a brand new masterclass, brand new drop today, free resource to you. I want to thank the Work It Daily team. They have been busting their humps getting this together. It's a training that teaches you how to assess your skills, your most valuable skill sets to market to employers. Something you must do. That was literally part of the 4-step process that I showed you today. I know they're posting the URL so that you can get your new free resource. So be sure to pick that up. The other thing that I want to tell you is that if you haven't looked at it already, we have just added over at Work It Daily, we're a subscription-based, like Peloton for your career, I always joke, right? You're subscription-based, monthly or annual. But we just added a one-time fee, a 1-month membership, one-time fee, not a subscription, where you can join us and get access to our coaches, get your resume looked at, your cover letter looked at, your LinkedIn profile looked at. You can get all the help you need to optimize these things, interview prep, this whole idea of targeting jobs, all of this stuff that we talked about today is inside the Work It Daily program. You work with the coaches, you get access to all our tools, the GLOW method, and you get to be part of a private community of thousands of professionals. They're amazing. Attend workshops, all that good stuff. 30 days included in the one-time membership. Please go check it out. We are the most affordable, and I will absolutely stand by this, effective online career coaching you will ever find. And job search coaching helps people get hired faster. So if you need someone, please come check us out. This is why we're here. We'll still be here every Tuesday and Thursday live, and we'll still be giving you the most free resources of any company out there, which I'm super proud of. Not everybody needs us. We get it. But if you're listening today saying it's lonely and I could use help and I could use somebody pumping me up and helping me get that confidence to go ahead and feel better, then you need to give us a try. Literally. We are so affordable. We are disrupting. People don't believe it. People say there's no way they can do what they say they can do for this price. We can because of the technology. We have invested in the most amazing technology, and it is enabling us to do things that no other career coach can do, that no other service can do. I stand by that. I'm super proud of it, and I'm pitching it hard because my team works really hard. And when you get inside, you're going to see why it's amazing. And I know we have some members here today that I hope will give us shout outs and will validate for you what I'm saying here. I can sit here with confidence, with almost overconfident. I'm breaking my own rule, but I'm just so passionate about it because there's millions of people out there that need help right now. And they're sitting there thinking it's not available and that they can't afford it. And you can, and you deserve it, and you can have it. So please go check it out. And if you can't afford that, don't worry, because we have the most free resources of any company out there. Okay, so go grab those. All right, couple more questions today. Isabella's asking, do you add a summary to your resume, and does the font you use matter? Oh my gosh, never a summary. Please don't ever. Number one, no objective statement, no summary. It doesn't get read. It's very narcissistic. It's a waste of space. Do not use a summary. Second question, font matters immensely. A lot of people are using like these fancy scripty curly tail fonts. They want to look more professional. They're actually harder to read. Clean line fonts like Arial or Calibri are the fonts that you use. They're the ones that are the easiest to read for the eye to be able to absorb the most amount of information. Can't tell you how many times I've seen somebody, a resume, open it up. It's in Times New Roman in 8-point font. Can't read it. Not only is it too tiny, the little scripty things make it impossible to read. You need 11-point font is the smallest you can go. Never less than 0.7 inch margins, ideally an inch on either side, but never less than 0.7. And a clean line font like Arial or Calibri, okay? I know it's going to look boring, but it creates white space. And white space is what makes it easier to read. And all my marketing people out there can validate for me the concept of white space. It's a very, very important concept. You simplify so that the eye is drawn into the right things and you make a stronger impression, okay? All right, Edward is asking, you have applied to a company and HR has interviewed you and then they pull the posting and repost. How do you handle this? I will be contacting the HR person. Is there anything else that can be done? So probably not, Edward, and it's not in your best interest to kind of push on this, and it happens a lot. So usually they post a job, they interview some people, they realize they want something slightly different, so they repost the job. It looks exactly the same to you, but in their mind, they've changed a few things, and they're looking for something different. So in that case, there's not much you can do. I would probably reach out and say to the HR person, hey, I saw that you reposted the job. Should I assume that I'm not in the running? And if so, is there anything I can do to stay on your radar screen for future opportunities? What you don't want to do is ask what you did wrong or why you weren't a good fit. That will actually get you blacklisted. And you're saying, why, JT? I just want feedback, because it's awkward and it's uncomfortable. And the truth is, you are trying to sell your services. They have every right to say no. And you pushing back on why just creates a bad taste in their mouth. So I want you to be really careful when you reach out to HR. Instead, say, I see you reposted. I'm sorry that you didn't find the right candidate. I had really hoped to be the right candidate. Is there something I can do? Can I stay on your radar screen? Can I be proactive? I really liked your organization. Would it be okay to stay in touch in the event maybe a different type of position comes up I'm a better fit for? That way you show your character and your professionalism, but it still gives you a reason to touch base. Okay, but don't put them on the spot. It just never works out. The fact that you asked that question, you are super smart. You need to ask that question, which told you in your gut that it's not a good thing to do. Okay, but there is a way to reach out. You just have to follow that character profile. Okay, Mike says, understandably, so many jobs have been directly impacted by COVID-19, but is there a right or wrong way to indicate your most recent position was lost due to the company announcing its closing at the end of 2019? So Similar to somebody asked earlier about companies closing, it's totally okay after the company. So if you said, all right, account manager, comma, ABC Corp, and then in parentheses, company closed in 2019. That's totally fine. That's all you need to say. What I wouldn't do is try to over-explain it, Mike. And I think that's what you're asking. You don't want to make it a bullet point. You don't want to try to give a paragraph to explain it. The moment you start getting into too much explanation, it sounds like you're trying to hide something. It's like you're trying to pull one over. You're trying to sell. Why does it need explaining? Company closed. If I need to know more as a recruiter, I'll ask you. But when you start giving me all this extra information, I feel like you're trying to manipulate the situation. So my advice, no, really simple. Company closed 2019. Boom, done. If I need more info, I'll ask you. Yeah. Wow, this was amazing. Hey, listen, do you like this? I'm going to ask you this question. Do you like getting your questions answered? How does it feel? How does it feel to have a career coach who nerds out on this stuff, who studies it every single day of her life, who has been doing this for a really long time, who works with lots of other people, and this is all we talk about and do? How does it feel to have them answer your questions? Do you like it? If you do, then why haven't you joined us at Work It Daily? This is what we do. This is how it works. It's that simple. You get online, you join the program, you log in, you message the coaches, you ask a question, you get an answer. Or you can post it in the community and get a whole bunch of perspective from a bunch of like-minded people. This is it. So if you like this, when we do it 2 times a week and maybe your question gets answered, or maybe you've got a question that is really personal and you don't want to sit in here and put it out on the universe, come join us in Work It Daily. Let us help you. I promise you. 30 days, just come see. We're this startup, that nobody knows about. And I'm grateful every day for our members who have joined, because you're tip of the curl. You saw the future, but we want more of you. We want to help as many of you as we can, because you deserve it. Okay. So if you enjoyed today, come join us. I promise you'll love it. All right. And if you're not ready to join, grab today's new free resource, because it's awesome. My team is awesome, and the new free resource is excellent. So make sure you go grab that. Okay. All right, everyone, listen, stay safe and stay healthy. We're grateful every time you show up for these sessions. It's only as good as the questions you ask. So for all of you that asked questions today, thank you. For all of you that took the time to just be here and comment, thank you. I hope you'll come back and hang with me next week. All right. And until next time, remember, what do we always tell you? If you want to win, you got to work it daily. All right. Take care.